the deal the other day where we were talking about the Florida International uniforms, the Miami Vice uniforms. That's against UTEP on a Wednesday night. We're all watching that game. We know that. What are we watching it on? We're watching it on ESPN2. Who's going to own ESPN2 or ESPN or any of those in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years is another question. Really interesting discussion late last week. So there's a Wall Street analyst named Dan Ives, and he covers the tech sector. And so, he follows these tech companies very closely, Apple, Tesla, and he put out a note last week that Apple should buy ESPN, and then went on a kind of a media tour, like on CNBC, said it's a matter of when and not if. Now, if you look at the money, the market capitalization of Apple, it's $2.7 trillion. They could actually buy Disney, which is ESPN's corporate parent. They could actually buy Disney if they wanted to. So what Dan said is they need to buy ESPN if they really, truly want to get into sports. You saw Apple dabble with the Pac-12, where they didn't offer that much money. And you've seen them have some success with MLS, with Lionel Messi being everything that he was advertised to be since he's gotten there. And they have a subscription service essentially where you can either buy separately all the MLS games, or if you're already subscribing to Apple TV Plus, you can pay a smaller number and get all of the MLS games. So how does that work? How would Apple and ESPN work? Now, ESPN, Disney's already said they want to find a partner for ESPN. So that would be somebody buying an equity stake, but basically letting Disney still run it. What Dan is suggesting is Apple just buys it. And I was trying to think about how that would work. And really, if you want to be in sports and you don't want to have to bid on things that really aren't available for bidding, buying something that already has Monday Night Football, the SEC and the ACC completely, and part of the Big 12, the NBA with the NBA Finals, that might do it. That might work, because part of it is like with the Pac-12, they were going to say, you got to sell these subscriptions and then we'll pay you full boat. But if you already have Monday Night Football, people are coming to find Monday Night Football. If you have Alabama versus Texas, people are coming to find Alabama versus Texas. Those brands will draw people. And so if Apple TV Plus, if Apple is looking for a way to do it, to get people to subscribe to Apple TV Plus or to pay them a subscription, because they're a technology company, they're a hardware company, but they're also a subscription company. I know, because I get those emails every time Apple Care takes money from my credit card. So for every device in the house. So they like the monthly subscriptions. So could that work? Could you have just, you go to that Apple icon on your TV, and that's going to give you Monday Night Football, SEC football, ACC football, NBA Finals. I mean, maybe that's the way you do it. And Disney cuts out having to deal with all that stuff, with the prices of the sports rights going up as ESPN's revenues go down because people are cutting the cable bundle. Maybe that works. I do have one suggestion though for Apple. If they want to sell a bunch of hardware, because they still are essentially a hardware company. Most of their money is made off us buying phones and us buying computers and tablets. You want to make some money as a hardware company? Make a TV that lets me move between apps seamlessly, that lets me say, I'm watching this game on YouTube TV, but there's a Peacock exclusive, and I need to be able to hop right over there with the push of one button. Make me that, and I will buy that. And a lot of other people will buy that. I was thinking about that the other day as I was watching something on Peacock, Twisted Metal, by the way. Awesome new show. And I was remembering, oh, wait, there's going to be a Notre Dame game on Peacock. There are going to be Big Ten games that are exclusive to Peacock. I got to figure out, like, where am I going to watch? I'm going to have that on my iPad probably, because I'm going to have something else on the TV so I can change channels. Because this is the problem for most of us. Like, If you're watching your team's game, that's on the TV. You're not changing the channel. But once your team game is over and you just want to watch games, you want to be able to flip. And there's just no easy way to do that anymore. So listen, if you want some free advice, Apple, don't buy ESPN. Make us a TV that lets us flip like that, because I would buy that in a heartbeat, and I think a lot of sports fans would. But we'll see what happens with that. Something drastic is probably going to happen with ESPN and Disney here in the next 3-4 years. They've already telegraphed that. They've said they're probably going to sell it direct to consumer. This actually gets Disney off the hook for selling ESPN direct to consumer. Apple could sell it direct to consumer and have to figure all that out. But the price, I should have mentioned this earlier, the price that Dan Ives threw out there is $50 billion. That's a lot of money. You also have to assume the payments for all this other stuff. And, they're paying massive amounts for Monday Night Football every year. They're paying the SEC massive amounts. They'll be paying massive amounts for the college football playoff, assuming they get that. So this is a lot of money. And the last and biggest deal that Apple's done so far is buying Beats, the headphone company, for $3 billion. So $50 billion and $3 billion are not that close. But again, I said their market capitalization is $2.7 trillion. Trillion with a T. So if Apple wants in, then they're going to have to do that. And, you go back to when Fox got into sports, because remember when Fox started, I think people in their 40s and 50s do remember this, when Fox was a new network, and it's like the Tracy Ullman show and Married with Children. They were not making a huge dent in the zeitgeist. It wasn't until they got the NFL, they bought the NFC out from under CBS, that Fox really got back into sports or got into sports. And that was Rupert Murdoch just making a huge offer that CBS hadn't even contemplated competing with. And if you want to learn your sports history, which, by the way, this also will help teach you what's going to happen with college football, Murdoch did the same thing with the Premier League when it was formed a few years earlier, where he had to throw in an offer so big that nobody else could even compete with it. That's what they did with Fox. That would be how Apple or Amazon or any of those could really get into sports, with something that big. And so Apple, which I believe is sitting on $200 billion in cash, so they could actually buy this in cash if they wanted to. It's possible. It's fascinating to think about. But again, Apple, just give me that TV, or somebody give me that TV where the touch of a button, I can move between shows within apps, not from one app to another. I want to go from the show I'm watching in one app to a show that is on in another app. One click, 2 clicks at most. That's what I need. Figure that out, and then we will have something to talk about.